Jana, I'm so glad to have you with us, and I want to start with Google, which hasn't instituted an official hiring freeze per se, but they have said they are slowing hiring now through the end of the year. How significant is it that a company as healthy as Google is even having these kinds of issues?
Well, thank you for having me, Emily. It's a pleasure to be here. What I would say is somewhat surprising because you look at Google, honestly, and think of it as a very diversified and healthy company who seemingly is one of those positioned to do well in a period of time like this. And at least what I've heard is some of the slowdown in hiring is their concern about onboarding people. So it's interesting to hear that part of the attribution was because of that, because other companies have certainly embraced the idea that we are going to hire, we are going to bring people on remotely. And it's interesting just that, I think Google has at least expressed some concern that they're going to slow down hiring partially because of that fact.
So then how much more broadly do you think we're going to see layoffs and hiring freezes across Silicon Valley? I mean, it seems like almost everybody has been told to tighten their belts and to make cuts now that might be deeper than you need to make, so you don't have to do this more than once.
It's a good question. I certainly don't think, to be honest, that we've seen the end of this yet, unfortunately, because I do think there's a lot of companies that are still doing scenario planning. It doesn't mean to say that they haven't cut deeply enough. They may not even have cut yet, right? There are definitely companies who have looked at, what are the next couple of months going to be like? I agree with you. I think they're going to make tough decisions, potentially deeper cuts so that they don't have to do, numerous different downsizings, but I don't think we've seen them all yet. I think there's a lot that have already done so, but some are still going to be in that boat.
So you have Facebook and Google that are probably going to be suffering from some kind of ad slump. You've got Tim Cook saying Apple will bounce back from this just like they did in the 90s. You've got Amazon struggling with warehouse issues and just getting people the things that they need. I'm curious if you see any bright spots. Where do you see hiring happen? I mean, even companies that have been doing well like Zoom Video, Blue Apron, Slack, you're seeing some of these companies pull back as we talk about reopening the economy, and folks think, well, maybe folks aren't going to be using those as much now.
I think there's a lot of different areas, actually, where there's some interesting and maybe even slightly unexpected growth. So I'll give you a couple examples, one of which is gaming. So you're finding that a lot of people are engaging with gaming companies in deeper, broader, more frequent ways than they have in the past. And you even see certain gaming companies starting to morph their model. So, for example, there's a gaming company down in LA. It's called Wave, W-A-V-E. And this is all around sort of virtual concerts. So they're moving into a whole new arena that is very exciting. This whole concept that you could have the artist in studio somewhere where the sound quality is magnificent, but the audience is actually virtual. So I think gaming is one space in which there's some really interesting moves that are happening. The other, which I don't think has been spoken about a lot, but is very large legacy companies that need to be even stronger in the digital delivery of their service offering. So we're working, for example, with one very large CPG company, one very large financial services company, both of them saying we need a head of digital reporting directly to the CEO who's going to help us transform our businesses really quickly to be able to adjust to a world in which so much more is remote than it ever was before.
So you've gone through the hiring and recruiting process in the financial crisis, through the dotcom bust, through 9/11. How do you think this will compare? Is this significantly worse?
So the two downturns that I've seen, the difference in both of those from my perspective, and it's a pretty big one, is there was never an issue of people's personal physical health and safety. And so it comes with it a whole different level of, seriousness, severity, concern. I also think this is extremely broad-based. I think it hits almost all industry segments realistically, whereas the dot-com bust was almost exactly as the title implies. It was heavily weighted towards tech. In 2008, the downturn was least impacted by tech and almost everywhere else more so. And I think this one truly will be across the board. So I do think this will be more serious than the two other downturns that have happened in the last 20 years.